Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind size more. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Well, hello everybody. I realize as I'm sitting here, or right before I get started, that one, I don't have anything to drink here, and two, my camera is not working. Just 1 second. Let me see if I can fix that. All right. Camera operational. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the office. I hope everybody's doing well. I am going to go and grab some water. Just 1 second. I need something to drink here. All right, let's try that again. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome here to the office. Welcome to the morning grind. I hope everything is going very well with you. I had a great time Friday night and Saturday, going over to the grandparents' house. My grandmother was signing books. I saw people over there at the grandparents' house I had not seen in years. Huge gathering, probably the most people I've ever seen in the house. She was signing books, had lunch, all kinds of people over there. She was signing books. It was really great. So I hope you also had a great weekend. Of course, this is only Saturday. So good morning. Let's see what we've got here. Good morning, James. Good morning. Right, yes. So we talked about this briefly. So this was, we're going to be looking at this Cogent RPG, which I know nothing about. The reason that I'll put up I didn't know that this existed, but this Cogent role-playing, or Cogent roleplay is what it says right here. So apparently, yes, this was made by Shad from Shadiversity and Jaza from Draw with Draza. And I had no idea they did this. The only reason that I found out that this had happened is because the dungeon coach on the Dungeon Coach's channel, when he was talking about the videos, or it was talking on the videos where he was creating the DC-20 RPG, he said that he was a consulting designer on this role-playing game, which was created by Shad and Jaza. And I went, well, I'd never even heard of that. So Shad and Jaza, but also the Dungeon Coach as a consulting designer. So we will see. We'll see what it's like. That's curious. Hello, Zero the Blade, and good morning, Robert. Good morning. And good morning, Mike. Morning grinders. Have missed you all. Yeah, I know. When there's a missing day, you feel it, don't you? Right. Yeah. I somehow that went under the radar. And like I said, I've watched quite a number of the Shadiversity videos, and I used to watch. I didn't the Draw with Jaws. I haven't watched that in a long time, but I was familiar with him from a long time ago. But somehow it completely slipped under my radar. Maybe it was a long time ago. So, all right. So let's see. So that's what we've got going on here. I figured that's what we would take a look at today. Let's go ahead and breathe and sip, and then we'll take a look at some links and things like that. So now, all right, I poured some water, so at least I've got something to drink here while I read and we take a look at things. And let's go for a sip. So let's take a deep breath in, 2 deep breaths, complete exhale out, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage. So here we go. And sip. And that's it. All right. Let me send out. I was working on, as you know, getting my videos sorted. I left some other videos to upload while I left for the weekend, and of course they did get uploaded. Thank goodness there wasn't some kind of power outage or something like that. So they came back and got uploaded. So now I got to move on to some other channels to work on. I'm going to work on a cultist channel. And then I am going to work on this channel over here, getting its its branding and its thumbnails kind of fixed up again. Trying to work over here. So I'm kind of working my way channel by channel. This has been a massive project. I'm behind on communication. I'm behind on all kinds of things. If you sent me messages or emails, I'm way behind on it. But at least now, like Table Talk is set up. So we will be, in fact, I got to reach out to people about being on Table Talk. So, I'm going to post a link here to the Table Talk YouTube channel. If you would like to come over and support, if you enjoy what's going on Table Talk and you like that, then please come over here and come over to Table Talk and please do subscribe to that channel. So I've got some of the early Table Talks over there. We've had 47 episodes of Table Talk. And so I've got more clipping to do and things like that. So I'm going to bring that over here. Dinner and a Board Game. This channel is right here. Now, Dinner and a Board Game, there's going to be a release tomorrow. If you enjoy Dinner and a Board Game, then this is going to be its new home. We've got 660 subscribers over here to Dinner and a Board Game. Now, that's because Dinner and a Board Game, this channel, I had experimented with having a dedicated Dinner and a Board Game channel a few years ago. So this is a return to the previous channel. So it's got 660 subscribers over here. The Table Talk, this channel just started fresh about a week ago or something like that. We got 45 subscribers on here, so we're also going to be able to follow which one of all these channels and all the different kinds of shows that we're doing. are most popular. And over here, actually, if you go here direct, Zombicide Black Plague, which is one of my favorite games, Quest 2 Part 2, that's going to actually be today. Oh, it's today because today's Sunday. I forgot about that. 661 subs, James is reporting. But Zombicide Quest 2 Part 2 will be played today. So if you want to come over here, also Zombicide. Quest 2 Part 2. Right there, that one, and click the notify me or whatever. That will be streaming as a premiere. It's already been recorded. So this is one of the season 1 episodes. This one was played in person. It's going to be played. It's going to be released on this channel in about 4 hours. So if you are looking for game playing, this would be a great place to check that out. And I still got to coordinate the new pilot. Oh, I won't tell you who it is, but I invited a special guest, or just to gauge interest, to see if they would be interested in having a special guest on the show for a new pilot. And that person said that yes, they were interested. So now we just need a date. So that'd be fun. So it would be, I think, because I also think it would be fun if we had special guests coming in on the table of the dinner and a board game shows as well. All right. So what is this? Let's take a list. Cogent Role-Playing Launch Plus Open License. We're pleased to announce the official launch of Cogent Roleplay. Cogent Roleplay is launching with an open license, which will allow anyone to adapt, develop, or include the Cogent Roleplay system in whole or in part in whatever venture they see fit, commercial or otherwise, so long as they follow these requirements. Attribution is required to adapt, adopt, or include the Cogent Role-Playing system in part or whole by including the official attribution logos provided here. Must be included on the cover, back, or front of any published works in the credits and must be clear and legible. You cannot say published by Cogent Roleplay or imply that your project is an official Cogent Role-Playing product. Okay, basic stuff. Game mechanics. Any game mechanics or game system you develop based on Cogent Roleplay will be open and freely available for anyone to reuse, including... They didn't actually say, like, a particular... Like, this sounds like... one of the Creative Commons licenses where everything that you make off of it has to be, the viral license. So they didn't actually do that. They didn't actually say give one of the Creative Commons licenses. Just as we are giving this free license to use Cogent Roleplay, we require you to give the same open license for any game mechanic you develop based on Cogent Roleplay, including commercial ventures. Any intellectual property, characters, brands, stories, designers will be entirely owned by the original creator and not subject to the same license. Although that may be why right there, because sometimes, as we found out during the OGL situation, it can sometimes be difficult to break apart different elements of a book or work with a Creative Commons attribution license. So they're trying to do the same kind of thing. Basically, no, they're not trying to do the same thing that Orc is, because Orc is not viral. So they want anything that's created off the license to be viral, but they don't want the creative property. That still remains your property. So Josiah Brooks and Shad Brooks. This is what channel is this on? So we've got isn't that the Dungeon Coach right there? Oh yeah, right there. Covers all the core mechanics of Cogent Roleplay in this incredibly well presented guide to Cogent. Okay, and so they did a video on this. All right, so what are open the rule book, I guess. This sounds like it's going to be a generic system, I guess. James says my money is on Doug. Art Outlaw, welcome. Didn't I think I skipped by a comment. Coming in from Sweden in the EU. Great to have you. Welcome. Okay, it sounds like this is going to be a generic system. Okay. It says all the tools you need to. Can I increase the size of this? There we go. That might make it a little bit easier. Makes the heading very large, but whatever. Your stories will unfold in all kinds of worlds and settings, such as classic medieval fantasy, science fiction, space opera, zombie apocalypse, steampunk, etc. Okay, so yes. Let us introduce ourselves. We are Josiah Brooks and Shad Brooks of Shadiversity, of Jaza and Shadiversity, two nerdy brothers who've always enjoyed role-playing and all it has to offer. We created Cogent role-playing to address the rampant problems in many pen and paper RPGs, such as poor game structure that are kept purely for tradition's sake, preventing innovation, hugely overly complex rules that make it extremely difficult for players to bog down gameplay with redundant processes, things that prevent player creativity. In Cogent, we want to empower players to attempt anything that characters should reasonably try, and not respond with no, that's not allowed in the rules. Role-playing games that put their mechanics before the true purpose of pen and paper RPGs, the narrative you create with friends. Well, this says currently late alpha phase, beta soon, where the rules are being updated and improved regularly. Well, all right. Introduction to role-playing. Quick overview of Cogent. Okay, so let's see what the quick overview is. In the following chapters, you'll find all the reviews, all the rules for creating your own characters in Cogent roleplay and everything you need to get started playing a game. Character creation skills and attributes. While most people have a passing knowledge of video game or tabletop role-playing, will have an understanding of what's in here. Okay. Okay, so this is going to be a dice pool game. Dice pools and challenge levels. When asked to, they will create dice pools by combining the 3 total number of points between their skills and attributes, adding 3 and collecting that number of dice in a dice pool. The dice used in Cogent are 6-sided dice, commonly known as D6s. So we're going to create a dice pool by combining the total number of points between skills and attributes, then adding 3. Again, combining skills and attributes seems like a very common thing to do. Yes, okay. Michael says this is setting agnostic. While explained in more depth later, in general, you will roll dice looking for the numbers of 4, 5, and 6, which count as wins. The narrator, that is the person facilitating your game, will set up a challenge level, which will be a number between 1 and 8, and you will need to equal or beat with your dice roll. And that's it. It simply boils down to collecting a number of D6s based on your character statistics, rolling them, and looking to score enough wins to beat the challenge level. If you manage to do that, you pass the check, and your character succeeds in the task, whatever they set out to do. Okay. We've got character creation, how to play, combat, narration, supplementary content, which includes expanding from the core rules, metahuman powers, example magic system, random encounter tables for classic medieval fantasy, an optional hardcore combat system, and then information for feedback and support in an afterword. Did we see... Okay, well, we do have a cheat sheet over here. Oh, it's giving you probability tables. The probability tables. There we go. We said we're collecting a dice pool here, and then they said that our probabilities, our challenge levels are between 1 and 8. And this is how many successes you're going to get. So I like having these tables like this. We've seen this in quite a few different dice pool systems. So we get common task, uncommon task, specialized task, difficult task. So common task, they did say that you're going to add 3. So if you don't have skills or attributes and you're going to just roll 3 dice on a common task, so that would be an 88% chance. An uncommon task, you'd go down to 50%. But I guess if you have some type of something that you're adding, you would increase that. Because we talked about the problems where it often seems like, well, if this is an easy task, it should be 50-50. And that seems to be incorrect. That makes things very dice swingy. So it seems like they're saying if you're completely untrained, you should have an 88% chance of doing a common task. Uncommon, specialized, difficult, extremely difficult, unrealistic, virtually impossible. So I guess inconceivable, virtually impossible, unrealistic. I guess maybe your adventuring levels are mainly between like specialized, difficult, and extremely difficult. Maybe. James says, so it's like a World of Darkness D10 system with coin flips, 4, 5, and 6. That's kind of neat. Hey, PH. Drive safely. Yep. Tasks and conflicts. Task, action versus CL. Passive conflicts, action versus perception. And active conflicts, action versus action. Tasks. If dice rolled equal to a CL set, the player succeeds at the task. Such as climbing a wall, lifting anything heavy, picking a lock, etc. If dice rolls are equal, the passive is the victor, the one using perception. So I guess this is like a passive score, like, well, perception. Example of passive conflicts: lying to someone, sneaking up behind a guard, seducing someone, pickpocketing, etc. Active conflicts are action versus action. If dice rolls are equal, must be re-rolled. Examples of action conflicts: arm wrestle, combat, foot race, battle of wits, bartering with a shopkeeper, etc. So maybe it looks like we're doing active attack and defense, since active versus active combat is an example. Disabling characteristics. Commerce scale. Oh, so it looks like we're doing wealth level and not coin by coin. So we've got wealth levels here. Purchasing an item service equivalent equal to your level. I mean, I've seen this quite a bit. I think that the DC-20 is also using wealth levels. Purchase an item service equivalent to your level of affluence will subtract cost 2 commerce points. Purchasing an item service equal to 1 point or less than your level of affluence will subtract or cost 1 CP. Purchasing an item service equivalent to 2 under or less than your affluence level will not remove any. Quirks of the wealth table. So is this like all of the... It says cheat sheet. So this may be like all the tables in the book or something. Victory levels. I guess we'll just continue to see what's in here. Then I want to take a look at the character sheet. So minor victory level, minor injury, medium injury, serious injury, fatal injury, death blow. I guess in combat. Combat priority guide. Pre-combat, establish priority. Those with an equal REF roll a d6 until a winner is selected to be the priority for that conflict. This happens once per combat encounter at the very beginning and stands as the round order for the entire encounter. Declaration. Lowest REF and lowest priority declares first. Highest REF and highest priority declares last. I don't know what all that means. Armor guide. Armor can be used to reduce injury level, not victory level. Only strength can do that. A character can reduce injury levels by the equivalent amount of level they have in armor per combat encounter. So not like per hit, but per combat encounter. Injury reduction from armor is not applicable while in close combat. Armor point. 1 armor point is like a leather armor or gambeson or chain shirt hauberk. 2 armor points, negative 1d to combat roll. Combat roll reduction is mitigated with the endurance skill. 3 armor points, 4 armor points. Full plate armor and shield. Full plate armor, heavy tech armor. Weapon modifiers. Unarmed, small, medium, large, reach. I guess it's changing up our dice pool here. Ranged, hand, ballistic. Combat modifiers, dual wielding, close combat, high ground, flanking, brace, defending. We're going to have to see what this combat system is doing. Ballistic modifiers. Is that it? Okay, that's it. Let's go take a look at the character sheet. Oh, they do have the rule book in PDF here. And the cheat sheet in PDF. Let me download the character sheet in PDF. Maybe I can just open it over here. Steel Mongoose says, just popped in here, and there are already some uncanny similarities to my homebrew. Can someone tell me what the basic resolution mechanic is? They said it was a dice pool system where you're trying to roll dice and successes are on a 4, 5, or 6. And you're going to be adding up the number of dice are going to be equal to your attributes plus your skills plus 3. And you got challenge ratings of 1 through 8. Character sheet, character, player, okay, age, race, body type, disabling characteristics. So strength here. For each additional point of strength, severity of injury can be reduced once in every combat encounter. We got strength of -1, +1, +2, +3, +4. Reflex for every, so we have 3 stats: strength, reflex, and intelligence. Reflex for each additional point in reflex, turn priority is higher at the beginning of combat encounters. And then intelligence, -1, +1, +2, same thing. For each additional point in intelligence, receive 3 additional skill points to spend in character creation. So okay, we got skills, strength-based, ref-based, reflex-based, and int-based. Endurance, athletic, grip, swim, throw. So I guess this is your modifier for that skill, and then roll, you might put all these things together. I wonder if you're always going to be rolling skill checks. Ref is perception. Reflex is perception, acrobatics, ride, pilot, sleight of hand, stealth. Int is general knowledge, deception, infiltration, persuasion, and survival. Vocations. So we got more than one of those. Whatever the vocation is, strength, reference, or reflex, and int, I guess that's the modifier for it. Some other type of skill that it gives you. We'll have to see about that in character creation. Injuries. When the level of injury exceeds your base roll, 3+ attribute points, you fall unconscious. We've got something called commerce points. So it's commerce points. So it might not have exactly been wealth level, but we got commerce points, lingering injuries, and destiny points. All right, let's continue. Let's do I wonder if it's easier to actually take a look at the rule book in PDF. Let's see. This keeps all the heading stuff from being out of here. Okay. Is this starting with how to play? The challenge level. We don't need what is role playing. Okay. Here's our basic mechanic. So your character wants to climb a wall, and the narrator assigns a task of CL3. You have 5 dice, which means at least 3 of your dice must achieve a win to succeed against the CL. Here's our examples. So climb a rope 20 meters in the rain. Do a triple backflip is 5. So climb a rope 20 meters in the rain would be a 4. Do a triple backflip, 5. Ride a horse without a saddle, 3. Override the console for a basic spacecraft, 4. Catch a flying arrow, 6. Lift a car, 7. Every character begins with a base of 3 dice. The 3 dice is the base roll. The characters then add dice to the base roll for every point their character has any attribute and skill that is applicable to the task. For example, the character attempts to pick a lock. CL3, a specialized task. A player begins with a base roll of 3d6. The player has 2 points in the skill Infiltration, which can be applied logically to complete the task, plus 2d6. The player has 1 point in the attribute of Intelligence, which is the core attribute of Infiltration, and will receive an additional die for this, plus 1d6. The player rolls the total of 66 against the CL. And then we've got all those tables that talk about this. Okay, challenge level comes in two forms, actions and conflicts. An action is any task a player makes against something that cannot intentionally resist. A conflict occurs when the player makes an action against something that can resist actions, success, and failure. Actions, success, and failure. Something that is absolutely crucial in Cogent roleplay is how success and failure can be treated. For example, most often people think of failure as literal failure of the task. Failing to pick a lock means, well, you failed to pick the lock. Dice rolls are most often interpreted this way and is standard practice in many pen and paper RPGs. In addition to literal failure, Cogent role-playing encourages the use of something called narrative failure. Narrative failure doesn't mean the action itself failed, rather the desired outcome. For example, if a player is trying to sneak into a walled city and fails the assigned CL, a narrative failure might mean they still climb the wall as intended, but are greeted by a guardsman at the top of the wall, clearly not the desired outcome. It might also mean the crest of the wall, they knock loose a stone which crashes to the ground, making a very loud noise. If the player's roll produces only losses and no wins, this can also be considered a critical fail. The narrator might have the wall fall over while the character is clinging to it, crushing the king, who also happened to be walking by on the other side in front of countless witnesses. That's quite a critical failure. Narrative failure may provide interesting avenues of storytelling and add loads of fun. Of course, sometimes narrative failure just doesn't fit, or a literal failure makes more sense. It's the narrator's job to determine when to use these methods. Reflexive actions. Situations may arise in which a player may respond reflexively to a threat, which may have the potential to harm or injure them. In these situations, the narrator will tell the player to respond in a specific way, which may vary based on the threat. Threatening challenges like this will ascribe injury to a character based on the amount of failed dice required to succeed at the CL. So reflexive, that kind of sounds like a save of some kind. So you've got to respond in some specific way. So, for example, an acrobatics check while falling from a dangerous height. A CL of 4, the character with 6 dice receiving 3 wins. Result, the character missed the CL by 1 and receives a level 1 injury. See injury under combat. Survival rolls for food. A strength check because you ingested poison. All of those things give the character injury. Whereas a conflict occurs when an action is taken against another character that can actively oppose it. Conflicts may arise in various forms, such as combat, arm wrestling, seduction, or sneaking up on someone. Both parties involved will be required to make a roll, applying the appropriate attribute and/or skill points determined by the situation. Within conflicts where all characters are considered aware and active, rolls that are tied or equal are simply re-rolled. Okay, so that's not going to, there's no defender then. So that's an important difference. If there are tied or equal, you simply re-roll because you've got to have some kind of winner in this. If one of the characters from the conflict is using this perception skill, most often due to being unaware of the opponent's action, they're considered passive and will win, and they will win in the case of a tie. If they're passive, they will win in the case of a tie. If they're active, re-roll it. Most conflicts are simple and require each character to make one roll. When conflicts take several rolls to resolve, such as in combat, the conflict is concluded in a round-by-round format. Character identity. I guess this is character creation. We'll come back to that as normal, as we typically do. Oh, actually, I do think that this was something that that the dungeon coach was talking about. Because I think this is why he was talking about Cogent, because he was saying that in Cogent, there are only 3 attributes: strength, reflex, and intelligence. And you have 2 attribute points you can put wherever you want. So let's do take a look at this. Seems like most people don't know this existed. I'm glad it's different, Steel Mongoose. So by default, player characters will be given 2 attribute points they may assign to their character during character creation. Attributes represent the physical abilities of your character. They are strength, reflex, and intelligence. On the character sheet, they look like this. When assigning a point to an attribute or skill, simply shade a box with your pencil as shown above. So this is 2 points in strength and 1 point in strength and 1 point in intelligence. But you could put them both in one thing. These 2 attributes cover all of your actions your player might attempt. At first glance, it can seem like many physical attributes or qualities a person can possess or miss. Most other role-play systems have a lot more, such as stamina, constitution, speed, knowledge, charisma, etc. But in Cogent, these things are incorporated into the 3 attributes above. Things like constitution and stamina are covered in strength, speed, and reflexes, and knowledge and charisma and intelligence. There's no need to overcomplicate it. Each of these attributes apply to certain skill check and to all combat roles. For a combat perspective, 1 point in intelligence and 1 point in reflex have the same dice bonus as 2 points in strength. From a combat, I do remember this too. He was talking about this. So each combat attributes apply to certain checks and to all combat roles. So from a combat perspective, 1 point in intelligence and 1 point in reflex have the same dice bonus as 2 points in strength. This is because a fast or clever opponent may be just as challenging as a strong one. So, I hadn't ever seen this, but yes, the dungeon coach was talking about this, that he was saying that, well, why can't you be an intelligent barbarian? Why should, just because you're an intelligent barbarian, that mean that your combat bonus would be less? Why can't you just use your intelligence bonus when you're in combat? So everybody's got 2 points to add to their attributes. And since combat seems to be an important thing here, you don't want to say, oh, well, gee, I have to put them both in strength. Otherwise, I'm not going to be good at fighting. Well, you're going to add your points to your combat check, regardless of where they are. So certain skill checks are added and all combat roles. In addition to granting bonus dice to appropriate roles, each attribute also gives a specific advantage unrelated to dice checks. These are strength. For every point of strength, the character can reduce a victory level achieved against them in combat once every combat encounter. Reflex. As combat is conducted in a round-by-round format, the players with the highest reflex get priority on that round. Intelligence. For every point in intelligence, the player receives 3 additional skill points to spend. So think of it this way. An average person in any setting will have the equivalent of 0 points in each. 1 point in any of these attributes equates to the character being professional or naturally gifted in that area. 2 points in one attribute would be elite or world-class in that aspect. Some settings, depending on the narrator, may allow for over 2 points in one attribute. These are mostly justifiable through means of superhuman powers, genetic anomaly, magical enchantment, or enhanced technology. By default, player characters will be given 8 skill points they may assign to the character during character creation. Players may gain additional points to spend in this phase by either accepting a disabling characteristic or by assigning attribute points to intelligence, plus 3 skill points per point in intelligence. Each point represents an additional die the character receives when making dice checks in the appropriate skill. So we're going to shade boxes again for each point that's going into a skill. The tapered box on the far left is there to cross out if you take a negative skill. Although this tapered negative box is also present in the attribute section, players may not choose to have a negative in an attribute score. It's only there in case of a disabling characteristic demands a negative be applied to an attribute. Every skill has an attribute or attributes it's based on. For example, Persuade is based on intelligence. When rolling a skill check, players must add both the skill point as well as the attribute. Skill checks may be attempted even if your character has no points to the specific skill. In this case, players add the normal bonus from the associated attribute being strength, reflex, or intelligence to their base 3d6 when making any dice check. Core skills. Unlike other core, so for detailed descriptions of core skills, see part 3. Core skills in detail. Okay, so I guess this is telling you what each one of them is. We saw attribute like acrobatic, stealth, deception, persuade, infiltration, survival. Vocations. Okay, so vocations are skills that can be used to assist other checks. So we saw that you can have multiple vocations. Essentially, vocations can be seen as the character class component of Cogent roleplay. A vocation can be many things like the classic fantasy character classes such as knight, druid, wizard, ninja, soldier, or more mundane vocations such as blacksmith or baker. A vocation skill category is unique among the skills. It cannot be used to make skill checks unless it's directly associated with skills that are not covered by another skill, such as baking vocation to cook bread. A vocation is essentially an asset skill, meaning in most situations it can only be used to make assist rolls to other skill checks or combat rolls, and if the vocation has logical or obvious associations with skill or combat roll you are trying to assist. It's an assist skill, meaning in most situations it can only be used to assist rolls in other skill checks or combat rolls, and only if the vocation has logical and obvious associations with the skill or combat roll you are trying to assist with and is approved. You can make the vocation, you can take the vocation ninja and use this vocation skill to assist sword combat or stealth, but you cannot use vocation ninja to make stealth checks. Vocations do not supersede other skills. Example vocations. Okay, so you make these up. I guess, and you make it up according to the template at that on the character sheet, I suppose. Examples: blacksmith, computer expert, carpenter, baker, artist, ninja, soldier, martial artist. Proficiencies encompasses combat-focused skills. Core skills cannot be used to attack, though they can be used to assist attacks where proficiencies can. Did we see proficiencies on this? I didn't see proficiencies on the character sheet. There's only one here. Proficiencies are more specialized and are rarer. So what do they do? The core skills cannot be used to attack. Each point spent on a proficiency grants plus 1d6, which is added to the character's combat roll. Because of this, and to keep combat balanced, each proficiency can have a maximum of 2 points. This is on contrast to general skills and vocations, which can have a maximum of 4. Proficiencies accommodate things like supernatural abilities, magic, or superpowers. If there is magic within the campaign setting, the players may need to specify a subtype of magic as a proficiency skill by spending points on it to be able to use it in the game. Proficiencies are added to the base 3d6 in combat roles. In non-combat CL tasks, such as skill checks, a player proficiency may be used to assist a roll if it's logically justified. No negative proficiencies. So weapon proficiencies, such as weapon proficiency longbow, thrown, small hand weapons, small hafted weapons, medium swords, reach weapons, shoulder stocked rifles, meta-human, magic and superpowers. Disabling characteristics. Oh, okay. What are destiny points? In Cogent, we wanted you to create a character that feels real, has motives, desires, flaws, quirks, and opinions. We feel the more depth your character has, the more you will be drawn into the game that you are playing. A type of reward system to encourage this, Cogent Roleplay implements what we call destiny points, which should be awarded to players for exceptional role-playing. So this is a role-playing reward. A destiny point represents the character's influence on fate, their place in the universe, and how they may affect it. It may be spent in one of the following 3 ways. Before any roll with a d6, a character may spend a destiny point before any d6 roll, usually a particularly important one if they're using their points wisely, which will give them a special destiny advantage to roll. Instead of the usual 4d6 on a d6 being considered a win, okay, all 3s or more are considered a win. After the roll of d6s, a character may spend a destiny point after the roll to add a single win in addition to what they received. They may do this multiple times in any or separate rolls for as many as they have. Or A destiny point may be spent to force the narrator to re-roll a destiny roll, but they must accept the result even if it's worse unless they have a destiny point to spend for another re-roll. Force the narrator to re-roll a destiny roll? I don't know if we've heard about that yet. Every player starts with 3 destiny points at character creation, and 1 destiny point should be awarded to each player after each play session. A character may also award additional destiny points throughout the game for exceptional role-playing. Here are commerce points. Commerce points and associated wealth levels. So I guess they are, I guess the commerce points are, I mean, they sounded like wealth level, but you're subtracting commerce points from your total pool. Narrator negotiation. Assists. An assist roll is a role. An assist roll is a role players can make to potentially gain additional dice to aid their primary action objective. So core skills, proficiency, and vocations can all be used to perform assist rolls. Assist rolls are made before the action which the player wishes to receive the assist. Assist may be applied to any logically applicable role, and the player must first ask the narrator if the assist roll is appropriate. If the player is in a position where a skill they possess would logically assist or grant an advantage to any other skill or combat roll, the narrator can assign a CL based on the difficulty of the task. You got to roll. I thought the assist was going to give you like additional dice to roll, but the assist is you're going to have to roll some dice. And then I suppose if it's successful, you're going to receive some number of dice, or you're going to receive something else on the other side. So if the check was successful, additional wins are added to the result of the skill or combat roll the player has assisted, equivalent to the amount of wins achieved over the assist CL in the assist check. Please do give me an example. 3 wins against an assist CL of 3 does nothing to assist the following action, but 4 wins will grant +1 to the result of the assisted character actions roll. So wasn't it talking about like rolling ninja or something like that? That if your assets or your vocation was ninja and you want to stealth someplace, you can't roll. Ninja doesn't directly help you on your stealth roll, but you could first roll your ninja roll, and then if you got 4 wins against a CL of 3, you would get +1 win when you actually roll your action stealth roll. Well, this is it. So it says, on the other hand, I suppose that's if a player achieves only 1 win on an assist roll of CL3, the player will then face a penalty of -2 to be deducted from the result of the assisted actions roll. This means that any assist can backfire and as such carries an element of risk. Each player can only attempt 1 assist per round, so it can go backwards. So if you're rolling if you're profession ninja and you roll badly on ninja, you could screw up your stealth roll. Each player can only attempt 1 assist per round. The amount of wins or losses gained from an assist can never be greater than the challenge level of the skill. For instance, if you only received an additional 3 wins or losses to a skill or attack you're trying to assist, if the assist check was CL3. Cultist meeting skill? Go for a cultist meeting. When logically applicable, combat rolls can actually be used to assist general attribute checks or skill checks. Okay, so example scenario. You wish to make an acrobatics check CL4, but the CL is 1 point less than the total amount of points you have in the acrobatics skill and reflex 5d6, which is a hard check to make. However, you also have 2 points in the martial arts proficiency. In this case, you can use your martial arts combat roll, outlined in this chapter, Combat 30, to perform an assist to your acrobatics check. Your total combat roll is 7, and the narrator sets the assist at CL3. You roll 5 wins, meaning you will now receive 2 wins toward the result of your following acrobatics check. The acrobatics check is CL4. So, okay, so the assist and the acrobatics check are not the same CLs. So the CL of 3, and then, but your acrobatics check is CL4, and you have 1 point in REF and 1 point in acrobatics. Added with your standard base of 3d6, you have 5d6 to roll in total. No, so acrobatics check CL is 4. You have 1 point in ref and 1 point in acrobatics. Yes, base 3d6, you're rolling 5 dice. If you roll 4 wins, which would mean a loss if not for your assist, providing plus 2 wins. You roll 4 wins, which would mean a loss if not for your assist, providing plus 2 wins, making it a new total of 6, meaning through an assist you have succeeded a difficult challenge rating. Okay, combat fundamentals. Let's see what's going on here. What are we thinking about this one? I wanted to get to combat because I'm kind of interested in what Shad comes up with for combat role-playing, right? When a character's life is on the line, every assist they possess is brought to bear in order to win. Thus, every attribute, strength, reflex, and intelligence can be added to the combat roll. Combat rolls are calculated by adding base 3d6, plus all attribute points, strength, ref, and intelligence, plus 1d6 for every point of combat applicable proficiency, relevant to what the character is wielding or doing, plus any applicable weapon bonus. For example, Sir Tarek the Knight has challenged another knight to a duel. Tarek's combat roll is calculated thus: base of 3d6 plus 1d6 from strength and 1d6 from intelligence. 2d6 from his 2 skill points invested in medium sword proficiency, which can be applied as he is wielding a medium sword, and then plus d6 from his arming sword, the bonus from the medium weapon. His total combat roll is 8d6. So we could be potentially rolling a lot of dice here. Potentially large combat pools or dice pools. A successful combat roll results in a level of victory against your opponents. Your combat roll stands for both attack and defense. Okay. So it's more active than just attack roll and defense. Your combat roll stands for both your attack and your defense. It represents your character's overall combat performance for that round and not necessarily a single swing of their weapon. Each character's combat roll is compared to that of the characters or non-player characters they oppose. Every win a character has over another's rolls means a level of victory from which they may choose an outcome. Level 1 victory, minor injury, opponent receives, I suppose these are the 3 things you can choose. Negative 1d6 to all physical-based checks, but will naturally heal over the next few days or faster if treated actively. This can be negated by strength or armor. Stagger, negative 2d6 for the round. Enter into close combat, not available to ranged combat rolls. Level 2 victory, medium injury, which can be disarm or any lower outcome, or 2d6 injury, minus 2d6 to all physical attribute dice checks. Level 3 victory can be negative 3 dice, trip, or any lower outcome. Level 4 fatal injury, 4d to all physical-based dice attacks, incapacitated, and will soon die very soon. The 3d6 had the character will die in time if the wound is not treated. So they're going to die on a 3. So there was more here. Medium injury, 2d6 to all physical-based dice checks and must be treated relatively soon. Otherwise, further penalties may apply, infection, etc. This can be reduced by strength or armor. Serious injury is negative minus 3d to all physical-based dice checks, and the character will die in time if the wound is left untreated. This can be reduced by strength or armor. Fatal injuries, negative 4 to all physical dice checks, incapacitated, and will die very soon if untreated. This can be reduced by strength or armor to lower injury or fully negated. 5 or higher is a death blow, an instant kill unless the character has high strength or is wearing armor and uses them to reduce either the level of victory or injury. Injury levels do not stack in fatality, but do stack in dice penalty, meaning 2 medium injuries does not equate to a fatal injury where the character will die immediately if untreated, but the character does receive negative 2d6 to all physical dice checks twice, meaning they have negative 4d6 in total. Sounds like a fast and lethal combat system. So I guess this is also why you continue to re-roll. So in an active system, if you tie like this, you're not trying to talk about what is my offense and what is my defense. You're just talking about what's your total combat ability, roll, and see who's up. And if you tie, roll again. A defense roll is a variant of the combat roll. It's used when a character is either in a position where they cannot perform any type of combat maneuver to their opponent. For example, too far away from an opponent using a ranged weapon against them, or if they want a greater chance to survive as their standard combat roll is too low, fleeing after receiving an injury. A defense roll is calculated the same way as the combat roll, but adds an additional 2d6 to the roll. But no matter what the result of the defense roll, the character cannot achieve a level of victory because the combat was purely focused on protecting themselves and not on attacking. Armor reduces injury level, not victory level. Please note injury reduction from armor is not applicable while in close combat. See combat modifiers. For example, Victoria is a noble knight and is attacked unawares by a backstabbing rogue. The rogue achieves a level 3 victory and chooses to inflict a serious injury. Victoria is wearing full plate armor and can reduce up to 4 points of injury throughout this conflict. Reducing the serious injury by 3 points times. 3 points will negate it. 1 to reduce it to a medium injury, 2nd to reduce it to a minor injury, and another to remove the injury entirely. Victoria chooses to do so, which will leave her with 1 last injury reduction from her armor for that combat encounter, but enable to fight without such a disadvantage. She will, however, be fighting with negative 2d6 to her combat roll due to her heavy armor. When achieving a victory in combat, you choose to inflict an injury, which your opponent is wearing armor. Choosing to inflict an injury will be more easily countered through their injury reduction. However, other actions chosen through victory, such as staggering, disarming, or tripping an armored opponent, cannot be negated with armor. For more sophisticated approach to the armor rules within Cogent roleplay, see Hardcore Combat. Here are weapon modifiers, starting with unarmed. Small weapons, large weapons, we're adding dice. Some of the reasons why we're plus 3d6 is because of reach here with reach weapons. As mentioned above, a character's combat roll fighting groups. That's fighting groups of people. If a character is acting offensively at several opponents at once, in one round they are able to engage against the equivalent of half their total combat roll rounded down. This means the larger the weapon, which grants greater bonuses to combat rolls, makes it easier to defend against or attack or hit multiple opponents. Ranged weapons usually cannot achieve victories against more than one opponent per round. This is dependent upon setting and allowances from the narrator. For example, a fully automatic machine gun can hit multiple opponents in a single round. Okay, let's take a look at Terrence. Sir Terrence is fighting 2 goblins. Terrence has a combat roll of 8d6. This also means that Terrence is capable of defending against and achieving victories against a maximum of 4 adjacent opponents in a single round. The 2 goblins he is engaged with each have combat rolls of 7d6. One of the goblins scores 4 wins and the other 5 wins. Tarek rolls 4 wins. This means that he matched one of the goblins' rolls, but was beaten by the other. The goblin chooses to inflict a minor injury with its level 1 against Tarek. I thought we were supposed to re-roll. I thought we were supposed to re-roll active. This just says he matched one of the goblin's rolls but was beaten by the other. I don't remember that. The goblin chooses to inflict a minor injury with its level 1 victory against Tarek. The next round, Tarek rolls 6 wins and recalculates his combat roll. a total of 7d6 due to his injury, inflicting negative 1d6, and the goblins each roll 3 wins. Tarek achieves a level 3 victory against both goblins, and he chooses to inflict a serious injury to each. A serious injury will kill a character if not treated in the near future. The goblins retreat, leaving a trail of blood. There's something that I like about the injury levels. Does this feel simplified? James asked. One of their stated goals was simplification, and it doesn't seem simplified. I don't know. I mean, we've certainly seen more complicated. There is a lot to add up. The assist rolls was kind of weird. You know, making you roll another dice roll in order to help on some other action, and the game master has to come up with a challenge level for both rolls. That's kind of that was kind of different. Why not try to roll that up into one roll? Now the combat does seem simplified in the sense, okay, we're making one roll per round. We're not trying to do active defense and you make your roll, but you've got a lot to add up. So 2 goblins, base 3d6 plus 2d6 for reflex. You know, it's simplifying that in the case that, well, you know, this is making everybody equally effective in combat from their basic statistics point. They're not penalizing anybody in combat because they chose to have different stats and different points and different stats. I didn't see proficiency on that character sheet, though. I mean, that makes it easy to know, like when it says a serious injury will kill a character if not treated in the near future. That means that character needs to get out of there. It's not, oh, it's 8 points of damage and they've got 12 hit points, or 11 points of damage and they got 13 hit points, or whatever. Do they retreat or whatever? They just sustained an injury that will kill them, that they will die from if not treated in the near future. That means they're not dead, but man, they get out of there. There's definitely more complicated rules, but these seem almost... No, I'm feeling that. I am feeling that. Which could have something to do with the way that's written and the document structured. I do kind of feel meandering. So I feel that. So like melee versus ranged. Combat modifiers. Dual wielding is not given additional combat roll in the round. It does grant an additional die bonus depending on the weight of the second weapon being used. There's going to be there's a lot of choices in combat. Okay, you're going to make you get your combat dice pool. You roll your combat dice. See who wins. Okay, that player is going to make a decision about what type of injury or what type of consequence they want to inflict on the loser. But then the loser is also going to be able to make a decision based on what, like, if it were armor, am I going to discount armor or something like that? Use my armor to discount injury or something like that, which is interesting. That's not static. I mean, that's interesting that, okay, the full plate, it said, can reduce 4 points of injury per combat. It's not like every time it's hit. I don't think I've seen something like this. I might have to look up the Dungeon Coach's video on this. Close combat. Okay, so what was close combat? So close combat means the fight is so close in physical proximity that the characters' bodies are pressed up against each other in a grappling or wrestling. This negates the use of larger weapons. High ground plus 2d6, flanking plus 2d6, staggered minus 2d6 for 1 round, off guard, lying down, unequal equipment. distance, charge, brace, incapacitated, chases. So they do have some brief chase rules right here. Fundamentals of narration, the destiny roll. What was the destiny roll? Because you could force your game master to re-roll a destiny roll. So far untouched in the text of this manual, the destiny roll stands alone as an extremely powerful and dynamic storytelling tool. A destiny roll is made by a 20-sided die, or D20, and is made by the narrator, or assigned by the narrator to be made by the player. The roll can be applied to endless scenarios and can be used to allow the narrator to let fate, the roll of a die, to decide what direction the story will move in, be that for or against the players and his desire. The higher the roll and the closer the roll is to 20, the more advantageous the result is to the players. Adversely, the lower and the closer it is to 1, the worse disadvantage. Furthermore, rolling a 20 is considered critical success and may allow the narrator to assign exceptionally advantageous circumstances to the party or player. Likewise, rolling a 1 is always considered a critical failure and will result in all kinds of things the player won't want. Whether they be relieved as immediate or delayed consequences is up to the player. Revealed. Whether they be revealed as immediate or delayed consequences. These rolls may be used in situations of great intensity to help the narrator guide the path of the action. They may be used to help break up the monotony at random times to see if something good or bad happens to the player, or even what the weather is. Okay, so for example, a battle has been waging for several rounds and the enemy is about to unveil a new threat. On a destiny roll of -5, it's a colossal dragon loosely chained and ready to attack anything in sight. Destiny roll between 6 and 14, a squad of angry soldiers led by a menacing captain. 15 or greater, a siege weapon preparing to fire, but it seems to be constructed late and might fall apart. Hardcore combat. Oh, so hardcore combat is on the... Well, it does say right here, James, we have made Cogent to be as simple as possible, but understand that sometimes simplicity comes to the detriment of realism and sophistication. In the cases where we've seen that further refinement of the rules will more accurately reflect real and satisfying combat, we made a hardcore variant that specific rule system and provided them below. So hardcore armor rules makes armor significantly more powerful and reflect reality better. Armor levels are calculated by adding the armor ratings of each specific piece of armor being worn, which then gives the character their total armor level. Armor weight, half the player's total. So this surprises me that Shad penalizes so many attack rolls because of armor level. Half the player's armor total. I guess you have to see how much, like what the armor totals are, but half the player's total armor level rounded down is subtracted from their total combat roll. The character can reduce injury levels by the equivalent amount of levels they have in armor. The hardcore armor rules are only truly balanced in the game mechanics if the narrator and players are also employing the hardcore weapon modifiers. Without the hardcore weapon modifiers, it would be difficult or impossible to injure an opponent with significantly higher armor rating. Okay, so you can add up your armor total, whereas hardcore weapon modifiers unarmed, disarming, thrown weapons. So we got some additional adjustments to lots of adjustments to your weapon modifiers. Hardcore ranged rules. Warning, a big warning right here I see going by. These rules are called hardcore for a reason. It's very easy to die when using these rules, just like in real life when dealing with ballistic weapons. If the rules are not used when employing ballistic weapons, the players will have an active chance to defend against ballistic attacks, such as dodging. While this isn't realistic, it does convey a superhuman level of combatic skill, and if that's what the campaign you want to play, the regular rule system will work perfectly. Indeed, both these rule systems can be used, the regular people having to follow the hardcore rules, while exceptionally skilled, superhuman, scientifically advanced people can follow the regular combat rules. The key difference in the hardcore rules is that ranged combat rolls are done against a static challenge level determined by distance and size of the target. Their total combat roll is evaluated exactly the same, except they are not trying to beat the other player's roll. Every win over the CL stands as a level of victory the player achieves against their opponent. Those attacked by the weapon that use the hardcore rules cannot make any defense roll at all. Ballistic weapons or other similar weapons like laser guns work differently to, say, bows, because one cannot actively defend against a fired bullet. They can prepare before the gun is fired, such as ducking behind cover or wearing armor, but once the gun is fired and its aim was true, you'll get hit. So this is target stationary, stationary up to 50% cover, stationary up to 90% cover, moving target human speed, moving target car speed. And their range and speed and how much it takes to hit them. There are GURPS tables that are something like that. Huh. James says hardcore rules are neat. JDM says this sounds excessively complicated. I wonder why we're feeling that way. Maybe it's because we also have all these tables we've got to adjudicate. The range and speed table in GURPS is one of the more complicated parts of GURPS. I wonder what would make us feel more like, because I mean, I can completely see doing a game where you're rolling one roll and that's just how your combat is going to be. Like you're not rolling but attack and defense and things like that. That part kind of reminds me a little bit of the Riddle of Steel. With the dice pools. It's not exactly the same thing, but you're rolling dice pools against one another in that game, as far as I remember. So that's not the weird part. And it would seem like that would be a simplification. Instead of, okay, you roll to attack, you roll to defend. Now I'm going to roll for damage, and then I'm going to adjust the damage by this. I mean, you could say that's complicated, but that's kind of a known quantity at this point. So this is I roll, you roll. Whoever's ahead is the winner and can inflict some type of damage. I suppose part of that is that, if it were only the damage, I'm up by 3. That means you go down by 3 injuries. That might be more straightforward. Except for it wants you to be able to do things like disarm people and things like that. So you got to go to a table and then you have to make a choice. Okay, what do you want to do? I wonder how fast that plays. All right, well, I'm glad we looked at that. That's, like I said, one I had not ever heard of. So that's interesting that, especially being the larger, involving both Shad, or all 3 of them, Shad, Jaza, and the dungeon coach. That is interesting that all 3 of them were on this when they put it together. So we'll just have to see how things develop with DC-20. I'm interested to see how DC-20 develops. All right. Well, everybody, I think I'm going to call it right here. I've got more stuff to do, so I'm going to continue with trying to get those things done. There is over there if you're looking for a stream, the Zombicide Quest 2 Part 2 will premiere in, what does it say now? About 3 hours over on the new Dinner and a Board Game channel. Zombicide, I'll put the link to it over here in the comments. Links right there if you would like to check that out, or if you want to check out like the part 1 to that before we begin part 2, that's over there on that channel as well. So, all right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Be creative, be constructive, and grind on. I'll see you later.